Following reestablishment in Indian Territory, the Cherokee Nation divided into several districts, and one of those districts was the Saline District. So courthouses had to be established in the district so that business could be conducted. This courthouse, in 1883, the Cherokee National Council decided to build uniform courthouses in each of its districts, and so they actually issued funding to build each of those courthouses and had a very specific set of plans as to what those courthouses would look like, so they would actually resemble each other. This courthouse was built in 1884, and court was held here for the Saline District of Cherokee Nation from 1884 up to 1902. So although many cases were probably tried here and many things settled here, one of the things that this site is specifically known for is what some people refer to as the Saline Massacre. In September of 1897, the general store owner, Thomas Baggett, was closing up shop. He lived above the store with his family, and somebody knocked on the door, wanted in late at night, and so he called out from the second story window and said, "We're closed, I'm not gonna let you in," and that person was actually Dave Ridge. So while Dave Ridge was talking to Thomas Baggett, somebody shot Thomas and killed him. So Dave Ridge actually initiated foot pursuit of the killer, and several hours later his body was found and he had been killed by blunt force trauma. So the next day, Sheriff Jess Sunday actually deputized Leonard Bolin, and together they went out to question some people that had been suggested to them as possible suspects. And as they were leaving one of those homes, the sheriff was shot and he succumbed from his injuries a day later. So this property actually was auctioned off in 1902. The Cherokee court system, due to the Curtis Act and the implications that it had to shut down its court system. And so in 1902, the entire property, furniture included, was auctioned off. And it was purchased by a Cherokee family, the Teehee family. And it stayed in their hands for several years, and actually on the property is a small cemetery known as the Teehee Cemetery. In 1912, it was purchased by the Phillips family from the Teehee family, and the Phillips family was actually another Cherokee family. So it did stay in Cherokee hands even though it was no longer a Cherokee Nation Courthouse or a Cherokee Nation official building. It stayed in Cherokee hands for a couple of decades before it was then sold in the 30s to Stanley Doc Perkins. He was very well known in the area. It seems that he was very well liked, and he would host square dances here. And the entire first floor of the courthouse would actually be turned into a dance floor. And we have books where his guests would actually sign in going through the 30s and 40s, and they would tell him what a great party it was or how much fun they had. And so that's actually, really interesting and brings a new life to the place. In 1952, Florine and Lee Ransom purchased the property from the Perkins family, and they used this as a vacation home for the next, I guess it would be 18 years. In 1970, they sold the property to the state of Oklahoma, and the records indicate that the state of Oklahoma was originally going to turn this into a state park, but the records also indicate that that idea never actually came to be. In 1976, the Saline Courthouse was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The state actually owned the property until 1988, when the Cherokee Nation reacquired the property. For the first time since it had been auctioned off in 1902, the Cherokee Nation officially owned this property as a government-owned property. Following Cherokee Nation's reacquisition of the property in 1988, the nation spent the next 15 or so years just little by little refurbishing the property, repairing it, because it was obviously in a state of disrepair, having been built in 1884. The Saline Preservation Association was formed in 2003, and it was a group of local people who were very interested and very invested in preserving this as a courthouse and preserving it as a historical property. So through their grassroots efforts, a lot of preservation activities were done here as well. In 2019, full restoration of the courthouse was completed, and it became the Saline Courthouse Museum, which is operated by Cherokee Nation Cultural Tourism.